Happy Wednesday night and welcome to Deep in the Plus. This is the show where we go deep into the Disney Plus catalog and we pick out a movie or a TV show and we talk about it. And this week we are finishing up our holiday season with decorating Disney holiday magic. And I couldn't think of a more holiday elf than this gentleman, Patrick Hackett. How are you, buddy?
I am doing Jiggle Bam!
Oh, man, you got me.
Yeah.
You got me, yeah. You and I love Prep and Landing, Jingle Bell, Jingle Bam. I love that show. I get panned for it all the time, but
It's
yeah,
so good.
it is. It is.
You
I love
need
that
a
one.
heart and soul to enjoy that. So, maybe if you're missing those.
That might be the problem. Yep. Thanks, man, for doing this with me. I appreciate it. We're 1 week away from Christmas. You got big
Crazy.
holiday plans?
I do, I come from a big Italian family, so we do the whole stereotypical 7 fishes, all of us sitting around, and it's a really good time. A lot of fun.
Do you consume a lot of traditional holiday content before the holiday? Like for us, I have buckets of DVDs. I don't know if you remember those. Those were a thing they had back in the 90s. But
I have some around here somewhere. I think it's mostly Pops, though.
yeah,
Oh,
that's
they're over
probably
there.
accurate. Okay,
Yeah.
that's accurate. But we always there's a lot of things that we want to watch every holiday, and so we've reviewed a bunch of them on Deep in the Plus. Gives me an extra excuse to watch them, but some of them are like standards, and Prep and Landing's one of them. But I don't watch a lot of docu stuff, so that's what we're kind of doing tonight. Is we're watching Decorating Disney Holiday Magic, which talks about decorating the parks. And I know you've talked about this, and we've talked about this at Park Center. 2 points I wanted to talk about with you before we get into the special is one is you and I have talked about over and over again how it used to be that they would just decorate everything overnight. They even talk about it in the special, but I mean, that's a thing that gets on your nerves, I think. But I feel like they start decorating before Halloween's over, and I think we're still decorating now, right?
So I thought about this a lot as we were preparing to do this show, and I came to kind of a conclusion that I think in the parks, it needs to be like flipping a switch. But I think in the hotels, especially with the really complex gingerbread displays, I'm willing to give a little bit of leeway there. It's not on stage. You know what I mean? I think that like on stage, it should be flipped. I know there's people who were at Oogie Boogie Bashes and taking pictures with snow-capped Sleeping Beauty Castle. It's not right.
No, you're right. And by the way, another thing I want to talk about when we're talking about this show is that the things they decorate and then the things they don't. Because even though they decorate at the resorts and they decorate Main Street, they don't decorate
I'm glad you brought
everything.
this up. Yeah, I'm glad
You
you
want to
brought
talk about
this
it now?
up. Do you want to talk about it now?
Let's just get into it because when you get to the end of Main Street, it's so magical when you get to the train station at Magic Kingdom, when you go down Main Street. But then if you go into Fantasyland,
how cool is it watching the holiday planter get replanted? I thought that was way cooler than I thought it was going to be.
No, that was neat. But when you get into like Fantasyland, you don't really have that kind of stuff. You don't have it in Tomorrowland. The only caveat is if you're in Tomorrowland and you see the Tomorrowland Speedway is decorated for the holidays only because it's part of the Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. And so during non-Christmas party nights, they don't really light all that stuff up, but you can see the trees and the things that are over there. But other than that, they don't really decorate Tomorrowland, Frontierland, like they do it up on Main Street. But Epcot, they do all over because they have to, because they're doing all of the countries and everything. Animal Kingdom, I feel like they just basically do a little bit in Pandora, but mostly I think they just do the Discovery Island.
Yep.
Oh no, actually they do Dino Land too.
Dinosaur too. I feel like Animal Kingdom gets really well done. I think Hollywood Studios, oh man, kids, long time ago, there was something amazing called the Osborne Family Spectacle of Lights, and my goodness, was it special. I feel like there was a couple down years between Osborne leaving and what we have now, and I think they've really stepped up Hollywood Studios decorating. But there's only the 7 signature trees, and I feel like we should have... Why isn't every resort getting a tree?
So... They actually talk about this in the special that there are 9 icon trees, which I was like, what are we talking about? But I've got the list, and we'll talk about that. The other thing I was going to ask you about was Osborne Lights, because again, that was one of those family traditions. Everybody goes to see it. You know, it was unbelievable the way that every bulb over every bit of the streets of America was lit up, and man, it was something special to see.
And all the other Easter eggs, that felt like Imagineering like enjoyed themselves. I don't know if it's Imagineering that's decorating, but you know, the people who are doing the decorating. And one of the things you'll notice in watching this is the people who are doing the decorating, a lot of blue badges. A lot of blue badges there.
That is true. That is true. But this was just a pick that I pulled up randomly about the Osborne Lights and just how amazing it is. And you know, you can see like there's some Hanukkah decorations that are sneaking in there. There's that big like whirly gig that was up there on top of the building. Santa across the street. Yeah, and then the dancing lights, the whole thing was pretty amazing. So, you know, yes, it is still amazing to see the Tower of Terror lit up with full projection mapping, but this was real. This was practical.
Yes.
As we talk about TV shows and movies, this was practical versus CGI. This was hand done.
Same thing with Cinderella Castle.
Oh yeah,
Dreamlights offered something that these projections do not.
Yep. So the special that we're going to be talking about here is about it's kind of the behind the scenes of all that goes into decorating at Disney parks. And so as we've talked about before on Disney Plus, there's a holiday hub. If you scroll all the way down to the holiday hub, and then you go down here under series and specials,
it is far away. Almost there. Yeah. Oh wait, hold on. Let's go back a second.
There she is. There she is. What?
Oh my god! A second. A little bit. Wait a second. A little bit. What's that right there, Rob? Is that Hawkeye?
Hawkeye, because you said it's a Christmas special, and here it is under holiday series and specials. You're right. I agree with you. Yeah, that's absolutely a Christmas one, and we reviewed that one earlier this year. So here it is, decorating Disney. One of the things that I found interesting about it too was that in decorating Disney, should we just call it decorating Disney holiday magic every time we mention it,
or do we Halloween magic too? Isn't there?
Come on, man, we're getting ahead of it. Like, yeah, I do want to talk about that at the end. So anyway, so this one was done in 2017. I feel like it was aired on ABC and it was aired on Freeform. So it was done in 2017. Obviously, Disney Plus came around in 2019. They added it to the list. That Halloween Magic one isn't on here, which is a problem for me, which is what I want to talk about at the end. So we'll hold that. But one of the things that I thought was interesting about this is that I love behind the scenes stuff when it comes to Disney, especially the Disney parks. This is what I used to love about the Disney parks Christmas Day parade. I used to love that it was like, we'd see a little of the parade, and then we'd see Chris Brown over on Haunted, like at Haunted Mansion or whatever, and then we'd see a little bit of something else. What? Chris Brown was actually in one for when they relaunched Space Mountain. Yeah. Anyway, so but they would have stars there, and they would be on location at attractions. So for somebody who wasn't
will be there this year.
But for somebody who wasn't like living there, it was great to be able to like live Christmas through them in the parks, because we didn't used to do the Christmas at the parks a lot. Now I feel like I'm addicted to it, but it was neat to be able to see that. And then they would also always have like a preview of like, here's this new attraction that's coming that we want to talk about, or here's a new movie. And it was definitely a commercial for Disney, but I was there for it. I was loving every bit of it. Now it seems like it's almost those specials still exist, but it's like a series of pre-recorded music segments.
I mean, I feel like that's what it's always been with the bits of the parade and then the pre-recorded. I almost felt like this felt very parade-esque to me, this special. It was like, okay, so now we're here, and then we're shooting back to Disneyland.
Yeah,
that's how I always remembered it. It was a little bit of parade, break. You're right, it's really music heavy now, but it's also it's always an ad.
But again, I was always there for it when it was an ad. Like, I had no problem with the fact that it was an ad. So in this one, It's touted as Whoopi Goldberg is hosting this behind the scenes look because she's the biggest Christmas and biggest Disney fan of all time. I'm not buying it necessarily when she's talking about it, but she.
I mean, she's
Anyway,
always there for Christmas.
okay, that's what she says.
She's one of the candlelight
Oh,
processionals every single year. Every
good
year.
point. Good point. Withdrawn then. But so she talks about she's talking about all of her like love for the holidays and for Disney and for all that kind of stuff. So it's really neat again to see that introduction, and then they show kind of a preview of all of the things that we're going to be seeing, but then they do it in segments as we go through. So they're like, we're going to talk about the parade, we're going to talk about the horticulture, we're going to talk about all of that. So I love the way that that's all broken out together. This originally aired December 18th, the same day that we're tonight. Yeah,
That's so
How
cool.
about that? Yep.
That's awesome.
So same day, but 2017. So that was 7 years ago tonight.
7.
Yeah, 7. So anyway, this is a 42-minute special because it was designed to be a 1-hour TV special, and like I said, it aired in 2017. The other thing I noticed about this is almost everything that's included in this special still exists.
Thank you. That is exactly what I was noticing too, and there hasn't been much changes, except for the dream lights. The dream lights are gone, and then they mock us and put them up in gingerbread form.
The only difference I found is that, well, the dream lights, because the dream lights are shown here, the ones at on Cinderella Castle, but also the Mickey's Once Upon a Time Christmas Parade is now behind a paywall. I feel like it used to be everybody could experience it, but now it's only part of Mickey's Very Merry.
I thought that it becomes part of the programming when like a week before Christmas. That's how I always remember it. That it was part of Very Merry, and then it became part of the programming regularly as we got closer to Christmas.
Could be.
Yeah.
I don't really. So you're saying that like once we get close to Christmas and they stop doing Mickey's Very Merry, that it'll just be a parade that we see every day.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. But I feel like the fact that it's behind the paywall early is probably different than when it first started. And also looking back about the parade, I was trying to find the history of the parade, and one of the things about it that it said that it started in 1994 as the Very Merry Christmas Parade, and then in 2007 was the Once Upon a Christmas Time Parade, and then it stopped obviously for COVID, and then came back November 8th, 2021. So the last time it ran was December 22nd, 2019. Then COVID happened, and then they brought it back November 8th, 2021, and then it's been part of
I was there
Mickey's...
that day, and
Were you?
did not get tickets to Very Merry. Yep.
See, there you go. I mean, I do love the Mickey's Very Merry party.
I love
although
the parade.
It's still Boo to You is still my Boo to You is still my favorite thematic, like holiday-ish parade, and Magic Happens was still my favorite overall parade. So if you're taking notes, if you're keeping track, I know it's gone now. It's never coming back.
I enjoyed watching videos of Magic Happens. I am not a Halloween person. I am, if there has to be a division, there doesn't. You can like both things, but if there had to be a division, I would be firmly in Camp Christmas. But Boo to You is such a good parade. The Once Upon a Christmas Time, very good. The Goofy section gets stuck in my head every time. I wish they had a little bit more on the parade. Now that we're talking about it, I feel like we didn't get a whole lot about the parade, and I'm really interested. I do like how they always are adding and they're changing things around, even if it's the order. I like that it's not predictable.
But again, they only had 42 minutes to tell us all of the amazing things. And I don't want to be down on Disney about this because I do think that they do an amazing job at Christmas. I mean, it is. Let me ask you this. Do you think that if you were a very casual Disney fan and you were like, as far as the parks go, would you want to go at a time like Christmas or Halloween where there was a whole bunch of stuff going on out of the ordinary, or would you want to see the park in its regular like base form?
This is such a great question and something I think about all the time, especially when we're on Park Center and we're talking about the upcoming events. Um, I want there to be special, not because I am a Disney fan and I know I'm coming back. I'm a DVC member, I come back. I want special because if you hook somebody on the special version and it's their quote unquote once in a lifetime trip, they might come back to see the regular version. I don't understand why we hold Walt Disney World in this esteem of, well, it's going to be somebody's only trip, so they need to see the exact right version of It's a Small World. The casual people probably won't even notice, if there's some Christmas decoration in there. So I am all for overlays. I think Jingle Cruise is one of the best things they have ever done
At Disney World.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is about it to me, and I think what you're talking about is that we were told that the reason that they didn't do Haunted Mansion Holiday, which we'll talk about in Disney World, they had made two sets of all of the pieces for this, and they installed one at Disneyland, and the other one ended up going to Tokyo, because I think the thought was that day guests at Disneyland are regulars, and so they get to see the Haunted Mansion in its normal form, 9 months out of the year, and so they want something else special during those other 3 months. The same thing with It's a Small World Holiday, which is also in here. But then we were told that, well, the thought went into the one at Disney World that, people come to Disney World. Sometimes it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Obviously, we have a bunch of crazy friends who live down there who go to the parks, almost daily. But there are a lot of people who this is a once in a lifetime, because it's an expensive trip if you don't live there.
It is.
Once in a lifetime opportunity to go. And, when you go, you don't want an attraction to be down. And maybe you want to see it the way that it was intended. But I will say the opposite of what you were saying is I've been there during a time at Epcot when there's no festival, and it feels empty to me now, because I've seen what a festival looks like. Now I go back without one, and there's only a few weeks, by the way. You have to hit it just right.
That's an Epcot problem. That is an Epcot problem more than it is how they decorate and how they treat the holidays. I wish they spent a little more time on Epcot in this. Getting into the special, it's going to be a lot of, wow, I really enjoyed this, and a lot of, hey, I know it's 42 minutes. Could we have done more? I love Sophia Carson. I'm a Descendants fan. Do we need that?
So, well, I will tell you that to me, I feel like the pacing was very good with this special. And I think that part of it, too, was that they let the cast members speak. You had a little bit of narration from Jordan, Sophia, and from Whoopi, but they let the cast members themselves speak. And I think that was important. But on top of that, I liked that they would introduce something about the park, and then they would go into the big segment. Yep. And then they would introduce something about the park and then go into the big segment. So in other words, like Jordan Fisher would talk about, Cars Land being done up for the holiday, but we didn't get into that. And then he would talk about Haunted Mansion Holiday instead. So for me, I think that the pacing of it was really good. I agree with you, though. Like some of it, like this section that they did when they were showing the capping of the Sleeping Beauty Castle, I thought that was a little bit long. I thought we didn't need all of that, because we get to see the woman who's very proud of her job, and then she's showing her kids, and her kids get to see, them light it up and all that, and that's neat. But I feel like that was a little bit of a long segment. But other than that, I think for the most part, the pacing was really solid.
I didn't need Sophia Carson to do the princess wave on the float. That did not. It made me laugh, but we've talked in kind of generalities. Let's get into it, Rob. Let's break it down.
By the way, during that opening scene, and then we will break it down, I did like that there were like these T-shirts that they showed in the crowd. There was somebody wearing a Soarin' one. There's somebody wearing a Powerline one. I thought that was kind of neat as that was happening. So, I said,
get to something later about that. Hopefully you'll pull it up at some point in time and I can comment on it.
Yeah, would love to.
That's what we call a tease in the business, Rob.
Yeah, no, for sure. So like I said, when the first segment that we meet Whoopi, she tells us what we're gonna do, and then we go into this first segment that talks about the lights on top of Sleeping Beauty Castle, and then they show how they hang them, and they talk about how many there are, and they talk about like the lengths of the icicles and all that stuff, and that's that real practical that we love so much that they don't do at the Magic Kingdom anymore. And it is a smaller castle, and it is a little bit probably easier for them to prefab some of that and put it on top. But it's still like it was really magical when those lights were on Cinderella Castle, I felt like. So that's a little bit of a miss to me. But that's like the first 5 or 6 minutes of this, and then they light the lights up. It's interesting when they lead to the commercial breaks. They're like coming up, because I'm not used to always seeing that on a Disney Plus show. And again, it's not a Disney Plus show, it's a revamp of a show that was originally
It's a little
intended.
nice, right? It's a little nostalgic, and like,
But
oh
again,
hey, here's the next thing that's coming up.
but the pacing, that I think that helps with the pacing too, because it's got to be tight and well produced.
It's prepping you so it can land the next bit.
Ba-dum-bum. So the next thing they do is they show us about these warehouses, which is something definitely interesting to think about, is that there are 3 huge warehouses at Walt Disney World, and who knows, at this point there could be more. And they give a little bit of background on some of these cast members, who
no
most
space
of them
for Spectrum Magic in any of them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, leave that out to rot. But there were a lot. The cast members they're talking about, like a lot of them got their start like at a popcorn cart or whatever, worked their way up, and and they've been there for a lifetime, which is great. I loved seeing that part. But they talk about these 3 warehouses, and again, I think there may be more, honestly, at this point, because of all that they need to store for the holidays. But when they were talking about this part, and we alluded to this earlier, they talk about the 9 icon trees. Well, there's more trees than that across the land. It's not like there's not a tree at Pop Century. There is. We talk about it on the blog, but it's not one of the icon trees. So let's run down the list of the icon trees real quick, because they don't tell you in this show what those icons are. I had to do a little research.
I was trying to keep track of it in my head. I was like, all right, I got 7. 7. But I couldn't figure out the other 2. So let's see what we got.
All right, run down the list for me then, the ones that you feel like
4 parks.
Right. So you got
Monorail
Magic Kingdom in Town Square.
Yep.
You got Epcot, the one at Future World, like right there when you get to Future World. Yep. I mean, World Showcase.
My favorite tree. Wanted more information on that.
Okay. Yeah, and they didn't talk about it. And then the one at Animal Kingdom, which is out front. And then the one at Hollywood Studios, which is the one that's out where Gertie is, right in the water there. And then Disney Springs is at Town Center. It's the Town Center tree.
I forgot about that one. Yes.
Okay, and then you were so that's 4 parks and Disney Springs. What are the other ones that you were mentioning?
The monorail resorts, so Contemporary, G-Flow, and Poly. Does Poly not have an icon tree?
It does, but Wilderness Lodge. Yeah. Wilderness Lodge is there.
To me, Wilderness Lodge, yes.
But it's not a monorail.
Yeah, right. And that's it then, right?
And Animal Kingdom. They count the one at Animal Kingdom because of the height of the building and the lobby. They count Animal Kingdom. So that's the 4 parks in Disney Springs, and then Contemporary, Grand Floridian, Wilderness Lodge, Animal Kingdom. So Poly doesn't have one. I'm taking that back. Poly does not have one.
Yeah, it does not have an icon tree, I guess. Yeah.
Correct. Probably has a tree, but not an icon tree. So the person who was writing this was from the Plan Disney website. Said, I went to bed at midnight and then at Animal Kingdom and woke up to this massive fully decorated tree in the lobby the next morning. So obviously as we see
Legit
here,
magic. That's what it feels like.
Yeah. So I shouldn't say that they decorate them at that warehouse and then bring them in already decorated.
That's fine though. It's a matter of what's on stage versus what's not on stage.
Yeah.
If you are putting decorations up, especially when the Christmas and Halloween parties bump up against each other, I don't want them. Ne'er the two shall meet. I want that magical changeover, and it's great because it's usually on my birthday, which is pretty awesome. Um, but I feel like it's getting lost, and I feel like the transition is becoming slower. And I feel like when we talk about the parks and we talk about the things that we miss and we talk about where management is missing, I think this is something that is really missing. I think that it is a cost cutting move. It probably costs a lot of money to pay all those people for overnight work, and B, I think it shows a lack of care that they know people are still coming.
So you don't think that they're this is them lighting the tree
Yeah,
on after working all night to put them up?
yeah,
Um, you don't think it's because there's
so
too much
beautiful.
to do now? Do you think it's because of cost cutting and a lack of attention to detail?
That's a really great question because are we just nostalgic and are we misremembering? Are we just thinking about a world that existed only in our memories versus what actually happens? It always felt like right around November 5th, they would flip the switch and Halloween would be gone and Christmas would be here. And it felt instantaneous.
When they show it like magic. So they're
Yeah,
like,
it's
here's the
great.
trees. Here's the tree at Animal Kingdom.
Oh,
Here's the tree at Wilderness Lodge, as if it were just like magic happened overnight. Um,
if you are not stopping at Wilderness Lodge during the holiday season, you are doing yourself a disservice.
don't sleep on Wilderness Lodge. Got it.
Nope. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, the one thing that I wrote down to that effect when we were talking when I was watching this is that the guy, as they were getting everything ready for the Magic Kingdom, he says, uh, "One day there's nothing, and then everything for Christmas is ready the next day, and we need to be show ready," is what he
Yes,
said.
I took that too.
So I feel like they do that on Main Street. I feel like that still
Mm-hmm.
happens on Main Street. Is that
Mm-hmm.
that they have all the Halloween stuff up, and then they go and they scoop it up, and then the next day you come in and it's
Yep.
Disney's.
I feel like
It's
more at
Christmas.
Walt Disney World than at Disneyland. I feel like Disneyland has been creeping in there.
Right, like you talked about, like during the Oogie, not Oogie Boogie because that's over at DCA, but during the
Yeah.
Halloween fireworks show, there were
Yes.
snow
Yes.
capped, snow capped points or turrets on Sleeping Beauty Castle.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the first part, like I said, is about the Sleeping Beauty Castle. The second part is talking about those warehouses and all the decorations that they have that they put up at Disney World. Um, and then the next thing they talk about is, I feel like, is the Haunted Mansion holiday. No,
Yeah.
it's a Small World. It's a Small World holiday is the next one. Which here's the thing I've got to ask you about this because the
Yeah.
guy in the narration says something that I've seen the special before. By the way,
Yeah. Me
I've
too.
never heard this done. I've never
Me
heard this said.
either.
I don't know how I missed it before. You go. You know what I'm talking about.
Every doll gets something done.
That wasn't what I was talking about.
Okay. What were you saying?
That he said if you don't know the backstory of It's a Small World, we call it the Rainy Day Project because it's as if a kid, as if kids were locked inside and they used construction paper to make a world for their dolls. And that's why the inside has that look. I've never heard that said before. And that's funny that I've never heard that said before.
I don't
It
think I
almost seems
processed
like
that.
it almost seems like lore that they created
Yeah.
for why it looks like the Mary Blair style. I don't know, but like my wife is like the world's biggest It's a Small World fan, and she was watching this with me, but she was sleeping a little bit, and so I woke her up. I was like, "Did you know that?" She's like, "No, what?" And I was like, "That there's a backstory to It's a Small World that it's called the Rainy Day Project." And it makes me think when you say rainy day, it makes me think of Cat in the Hat, and we couldn't go out; it was too wet to play, and so I'm like, is that possible that was a thing, or did we make that up later?
I don't know. That is not what I picked up on. Clearly, I did not process that at all. I was like, wait a minute, you do something for every single doll for the holiday. Everyone.
Yeah.
Every
Yep.
last creepy, terrifying clown that's wishing meal intent.
Yeah. So I'm gonna read this. It says the rainy day project. The concept is it's raining outside and the kids have nothing to do. They can't go out and play. So mom gets out the construction paper and the kids create the magical land that their dolls can live in. So you can kind of see that through to the design.
I feel like that's not the backstory we were ever told
And it,
before. Like, I don't think
I,
that's the World's Fair backstory.
I'm just saying that like that he brings this up in this special, and I've watched the special before, and I've never processed it. I guess that was a thing. So I mean, first thing I was like, I don't like this because it's not. Yeah, like you said, it was Pepsi
Yeah,
commissioned
it was
this
about UNICEF.
for UNICEF for
Yeah.
the 1964 World's Fair. Yeah. Here's a thing that I thought was interesting too, because we were just talking about the doing something for each of the dolls was the crepe paper or the paper chain that cast members from the past have written
Yeah.
like little things in there so that they feel like they're a part of
I gotta
the
say,
attraction.
the amount of times that I found myself getting emotional at this special was way more than I expected, and this was one of them. The cast member showing her kids the castle like was really, and then I'm sure we'll get into it next
Yeah,
about
the Haunted Mansion.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really sweet.
Yeah. So here's what they were showing is that people would write like the cast members would write little things on the inside of this paper chain that they hold in one of the scenes. And again, so that's like it's building on the heritage, which is the kind of thing that as fanboys of Disney we love. We love that there's a
Yeah.
history and that these people who are working in it every day have that history and that they share. And there's a lot of that feeling in this special, whether it's Kim Irvine or some of these other things that we'll talk about. I feel like there's a lot of it here, and it's what makes Disney magical is that it has that history. You don't get that at Knott's Berry Farm necessarily. You don't get that at Six Flags. You don't get that at some of these other places. That there's this just historical pride in things, and I think that's why we're so tough on them on Park Center, is that we want them to be that icon that we hold up. And like you said, maybe they were never that. Like you said that about like things that we remember. Maybe we never that wasn't ever how they were, but it feels like that's the story we were sold.
Yeah,
So
memories are a heck of a thing, Rob.
yeah, they are. So what I do love about this, and they do it, I feel like the same on both of these, is that on the Disneyland ones, and they do it with the Haunted Mansion, and they do it with the It's a Small World, as we see the behind the scenes and them making it. And then Jordan Fisher steps in and he narrates
CCAP.
he narrates this is what it's actually like. And so when he's doing that and he's narrating like what it's actually like. So now we're not seeing behind the scenes anymore. We're seeing the attraction as it is finished. Now it feels like resort TV to me. Now it feels like welcome to the Walt Disney
This
World
had
Resort.
a very resort TV feel to it.
Yeah.
It felt comforting, and oh god, man, I miss old school resort TV.
Yeah.
It was so good. It was just, it felt like home. That was really a welcome home moment. And by the way, Jordan Fisher deserves to be a Disney legend. He has all the bona fides, and he's awesome.
Don't disagree. But again, here like they cut to this and now we're seeing the inside of what it looks like with the magic of now it's like here's what it looks like and then whoosh, here's what it looks like. And
Real
he's
early
narrating
After Effects just smacked over there.
Yeah. So he's narrating it for us, but again, they do this one and then the same thing with the Haunted Mansion holiday segment is that they talk about the behind the scenes. Here's how we did it. Here's what we do. Here's why we do it. And then it's almost like we cut back to Jordan, and then Jordan's like, now let me reintroduce it to you on the surface. This is what you as guests will see. Love that.
Really great. And man, the mansion holiday is hard. It's really hard to watch. It was tugging at the heartstrings multiple times. I've never experienced. The only mansion I have been in is Walt Disney World's.
Really? So never even Disneyland Haunted
DLP,
Mansion. Not
DLP was down when I was there, and my time in Disneyland was cut incredibly short because of jet lag. and I prioritized what I really, really wanted to do, and his mansion was on that list. I just had to cut it. But man, do I you know my feelings, and for those who don't, I hate A Nightmare Before Christmas. I think it is trash. I think it is one of the most overrated pieces of media that has ever been created. I think Jack and Sally goals is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. But my goodness, do I want to experience Haunted Mansion Holiday? And this special only made it more so.
So chronologically, before we get to that,
Yep.
they talk about the gingerbread house at Grand Floridian.
Yes.
There are now gingerbread houses in most of the deluxe resorts, but this one is specifically about
And
the
the
gingerbread
gingerbread
house.
tastes better in Grand Floridian.
Okay. So the gingerbread house at the Grand Floridian this year celebrates 25 years, I believe.
Yeah. Can't
And
wait to get my
so,
pin.
yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a fun thing to do, but I do have a couple issues with the gingerbread house, and I'll talk about that in a
Really?
second.
Okay.
A couple weeks ago in Park Center, I was talking about I love the idea of the Epcot ball being in
Mm-hmm.
Communicore Hall, but it's like so small. Communicore Hall still looks like garbage inside, and then they ran out of like the panels to sell. So I mean, I don't know. It's just it was a thing. So anyway, so they, like we said, there was commercial breaks built in. When they cut back from commercial break, they always talk about one thing first, and then they talk about the main thing. So what they talked about
Yep.
coming back in from commercial here is Jingle Bell Jingle Bam fireworks,
Bam!
which that one for, and then also the decor at Sunset Season Greetings. But
It's going to be my first time seeing that. I'm very
so
excited.
really, so
Yeah.
so when they have Sunset Seasons Greetings, and when they have that thing, you can see as a regular park guest at night. If you want to see Jingle Bell Jingle Bam, though, again, that's behind a paywall now. It used to be you could just go watch it, and then if they wanted to make some more money, they charged you for a dessert party. Now it's just they don't do the dessert party, but it's part of Jollywood Nights, which is a little bit disappointing because there's not really fireworks on the regular anymore at Hollywood Studios. So it would be nice if that was an offering that was there for everybody. But then they go into the gingerbread that they're making for the Grand Floridian. And by the way, I had seen this special originally before I had ever experienced the gingerbread castle in person. And then the next time we went, I made it a point to take the fam, and we went and saw the gingerbread castle. And I mean, it's cool. It's cool. It's it's a thing.
You are underselling. It is amazing. It is
So,
an engineering and look at that blue badge. It's an engineering and baking feat. Oh god, I can't wait. That gingerbread tastes so good.
here's my problem: is they talk about it as if the entire thing is made of gingerbread, and while it is covered in gingerbread, it's 17 feet tall. That's not a little thing. It's 12 feet long, 10 feet wide. That is a large structure because
People are
the way
inside it.
but the way Sophia Carson sells it too is she said you can walk inside. Well, not you. That's the thing. She goes, you can walk inside. You can't walk inside. I thought we could. I thought we'd be able to walk in. No, there's a cast member
That's
inside
the
selling
royal
you
you,
stuff.
Rob. Rob, that's the royal you. Not
So
the
she's
Rob
like,
you.
it's possible to be inside, but I can't go inside. That was my first thing from this special that I was like,
I
you
mean,
sold
you
me
could, but it'd be the last time you go inside there or anywhere else on property.
Yeah, exactly. But the second thing about it is, though, it's not entirely made of gingerbread. Obviously, I mean, part of it is that, I need to get over myself about this. That,
Yep.
the
Okay.
reality
Glad we're
is
there with
it.
that. Yep.
The reality is it looks like it's made of gingerbread, but here's the house is 17 feet tall, but it's all a wood frame that they bring and put together, and then they start covering it in gingerbread. So I was hoping it would be made of gingerbread, but it's made of wood covered in gingerbread.
You ever build a gingerbread house? Because I built one today, and and it fell apart after I put it in the freezer. It still fell apart. Rob, despite the fact that it does get cool sometimes in Florida, what is Florida mostly known for in terms of weather?
Hot?
Humidity. Do you think a castle made of gingerbread would be structurally sound enough to keep people safe?
No.
Okay. Okay. So while we're doing this dissecting the magic here, and we're intentionally ruining our own magic, we can still have a little, a little bit of, oh my god, I can't figure out the word I want to say. Cognitive dissonance. There you go, and just pretend that it's gingerbread the whole way through.
Okay. So
All
the
right.
other thing is, this is another segment where we cut back to Miss Sophia, and then
Mhm.
she says, "Okay, you've seen behind the scenes. Now here's what it looks like and it's done. See, that girl can stand in there. I can't stand in there."
Okay, here it is. I was looking at what Whoopi was wearing, and I'm like, is that a Spirit jersey? And then I asked in our Slack, I'm like, when did Spirit jerseys start? Because I'm going crazy right now. I'm like, is Whoopi? Does she have the first Spirit jersey? What's happening here?
It's not a Spirit jersey because it's
It's
got a
not, because
hood,
it doesn't have the
and it's
writing on the
got
back, and it has a hood. Yeah,
and it's got pockets, and it's got it's not a Spirit
yeah.
jersey.
It is a hoodie. But when I first looked at it, I was like, when did this Spirit jersey craze hit? Is this a Spirit jersey? And yeah, it's man, it is the best tasting gingerbread in the world. I don't know if it's being in the magic and tasting it, but I brought it home and it was still delicious.
I bought one at the Contemporary this last time I was there. I bought one at the Contemporary to bring back for my wife who loves gingerbread. But
Mhm.
last year I was actually in Disneyland when they rolled out
Oh
Christmas
no.
and brought back one of theirs.
Oh
I feel
no.
like it was next level. I feel like it was next
Come
level.
on, man. You gonna bring
Sorry.
Allie out next? Is that what's coming on?
Come
Just...
on out, Allie. Actually, no. But one of the things that they do here is, so they do the behind the scenes, and
Yep.
they send the B team to shoot all of that, and then when they're ready, camera ready for Whoopi, they bring her out, and the whole thing's done, and she meets the chef or the artist, and then they present her with her
Little Whoopi.
own
Little Whoopi.
gingerbread gingerbread house with her own gingerbread bus, etc.,
Yeah, does
etc.
she
So,
not fly? Is she another famous not flyer?
like John
I didn't
Madden.
know that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, she takes
exactly. I didn't know that. That's cool. Well, at least
Yep,
you'll
she
know when
takes
Whoopi's in town. You just look for the bus.
yep, she takes the bus everywhere. So here we go. We go in, and instead, here's something I want to talk about. So
Okay.
like I said, the cadence is, we cut to commercial with, here's what's coming up next. We come back from commercial with a, Disney's known for this thing, but now let's talk about this, which I love. Again, the pacing of it, I love how all
Mhm.
that works out. When we come back this time after the gingerbread, but before we get into Haunted Mansion Holiday, we meet these folks who are there, and it's a DVC commercial. Like, it just
Yeah.
all of a sudden, it's just a DVC commercial in the
I
middle
was
of this
big
whole
mad.
thing.
I was big mad at this part.
Were you really?
I was because
But see,
number
that's what
one.
makes it. But that's what makes it feel like the parades to me, is that it's just like
Yeah, yeah, I feel
it's
that. I get that.
inside of content, but it's a straight up DVC commercial. Talk to me.
I just thought that family had no charisma, and I enjoy the idea that they're staying there for the holidays and they decorate their room. That's really cool. They weren't selling me on a DVC. They were, I don't know, they just weren't doing it for me. I was like, I guess as a DVC member that wouldn't have sold me. And so I don't feel like it would sell other people, and I felt like that family in particular wasn't the one that I was going to be like, well, they're enjoying themselves on Christmas at Walt Disney World. Which, by the way, try to get a reservation. They opened a whole new hotel, and it's still completely sold out.
Yep. Um. So yeah, one of the things too in this little montage was that they showed this kid, and they showed a couple others with the glow with the
Oh, with
show
the
ears.
show, yeah.
I loved that bit, and for those of you who weren't at Disney during that year and a half that Glow with the Show
Is
existed, or
that all it
2 years,
was?
it was a very
Was it?
short
Yeah,
amount of time.
it was.
So they've used the technology around the parks that is like that the I'm forgetting, but
RFID,
what
right?
RFID. They've used that technology. They started with the 100 Years of Magic with a pin that you could wear that would light up differently at different places you went. It was this huge pin. It was about that big with batteries in it. Then they came up with My Pal Mickey, and Pal Mickey would
Oh man.
would would talk to you at different times and tell you different things at different parts in the park because, again, that RFID. And then they came up with Glow with the Show, which was one of those things where it was like the ears would glow, or you could get like mini ears that glowed, or you could get a wand. My son was
Paintbrush,
late,
right?
late. Well, that was before the paintbrush. It was, they had an actual wand and then they went paintbrush. Yep. But my son was at like late teens and loved the idea that his little nephews would, I mean, not nephews, but his little cousins would change theirs to red, and then that he could touch them with the magic wand and turn it to a different color and ruin it for him, because you had to cycle through all the colors. It's just an evil streak that he had at the time. I'm hoping he's over it now. But again, Glow with the Show, it's just like such a flashback for me on that. But they showed that DVC commercial. Then we go back to our boy Jordan, who's talking about the Haunted Mansion holiday. And this is where they get into it about making the changes to the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland. And then they do the whole thing in like 18 days. And they go in and change everything on the outside, change everything on the inside. This to me, and I know you said you haven't seen it, I'm not trying to flex on you. This to me is my favorite overlay that has ever been.
I can see that.
Yeah, because because the stuff with the Jingle Cruise isn't as intense, because they like wrap some stuff or put some gifts out, or the stuff we talked about, the Tomorrowland Speedway, or the light changes with music inside of Space Mountain. Those are nice, but this is next level.
Attraction.
Dude.
It's a completely different attraction.
Yeah. So this is, again, the same thing where they go and they do the behind the scenes and all the things that they're doing with changing the outside, and then they talk about changing the inside. And then the lead, I guess, Imagineer or the technical director starts talking about the little throws or homages to people who have worked there before, including like the naughty and nice list that has everybody's names who's worked in there. And then he talks about there was a Christmas gift, and it has one of his friends who had passed away from leukemia, and he gets all choked up, and it was tough. Yeah,
it's tough. Yeah, but this is why we do what we do, right? This is different. It goes to a place where you connect with it on a different level, and that whole Disney adult slander. This is just what we connect with, man. I'm also a diehard sports fan. People can have multitudes and layers, and when I see stuff like this and I see what it means to cast members and I connect to that story, it takes a movie, even though I got the little goofy Jack right there, that I don't care about, and makes it a must-see, like, bucket list item for me. And that's what the Disney parks do, and that's what specials like this are celebrating.
Yep. No, I agree. And they used to do a lot more of these specials, and I would watch them on, like, I don't know if it was the History Channel or the Travel Channel.
So much more with Disney Plus. Yeah, Samantha Bee did a whole bunch on the Travel Channel. Yep. I thought with Disney Plus we were going to get a whole lot more of these. We got a few here and there. There was a couple Animal Kingdom ones, and
but not enough. There are more out there that should be on Disney Plus. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the fact that they take the Haunted Mansion, which is opened in 1969. It's iconic. It's, Walt passed away before it opened, but had fingers in planning it, and it had been like kind of myth and legend, and it's one of like the big ones: Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, Small World, that you see in every park, etc., etc. Here's what bothered me is when they were talking about how they made the adjustments for making this Haunted Mansion holiday. They said they took the original table that was in the banquet scene, and they cut a hole in it, and now you're making me sick. They cut a hole in it. They cut a hole in this. What? I mean, I get why they did it, because they wanted to slide this huge gingerbread house that they do, which is such a big thing.
It on top?
They cut a hole in the table, Patrick.
I know.
Rolly Crump probably made this table like in his backyard or something. I don't know. It's just. Yeah,
I didn't process that until just now, and I'm like, oh yeah, they definitely cut a hole in that table.
But that's what they said. We took the original table, and they didn't say one that had been replaced. They said the original table, and we cut up space into it so we can roll the tray in. Maybe she's misspoke or something, because that seems like blasphemy to me. But who knows? I know a lot of that stuff has changed out and rolled out. The other cool thing they talk about is Kim Irvine, and this is the first time. This is where I learned about it years ago when this special happened. Is that she replaces her mother, who was Madame Leota. Her name was Leota Toombs, which is crazy to me. But she replaces Madame Leota in the ball for the Haunted Mansion holiday. So they reshot things using Kim Irvine, Madame Leota's daughter, who is also an Imagineer now, as the head of Madame Leota. And I was like, that's awesome. That's the same thing you were just talking about.
It's beautiful. It's that connection. And her what'd she say? Her daughter's name is Leota, right?
Her granddaughter's name is Leota. Her daughter works, yeah. But her daughter works in the parks as well.
I'm conflating the two stories, but yeah.
Yeah. But it's really neat to see. And apparently they asked her, did you want to do this? And she said she's kind of shy. And she said she didn't want to do it, but she also didn't want anyone else to do it. So she felt like she had to do it because she didn't want to do it, but she didn't want anybody else to be the one to do it. So she, did the whole thing, and she is the floating head now, which doesn't look quite right there. But then there's the gingerbread, the gingerbread house that they put on the table every year is different every year. That's the one thing that's different. Most of the stuff is exactly the same as it was the year before.
They move some stuff around, different. But
yeah. And then they also pipe in the smell of gingerbread while you're riding through there, which is awesome. So, but then again, this is the same thing where they show the background of the whole thing, and then they go into like Jordan Fisher goes, and now let's walk through the Haunted Mansion holiday. And then it's Resort TV, where they kind of like this, spooky nightmare right out of blah, blah, blah. I love that.
Oh, I love it too. It connects with me on such a different level. And Jordan Fisher was definitely the right person. I know that Whoopi also, a lot of gravitas with her. I don't know. I feel like Sophia Carson was there because they were trying to promote Descendants a little bit. But I really enjoyed. He has such a great voiceover voice.
Yep. Here's the one problem I had with this segment is that there's a family coming in, and they're mic'd, they're talking. They're like, oh, I can't wait to see what it looks like this year. So they show the outside, and then they show it with this. And then you hear the family talking, and they're walking up. We've not been introduced to them before, and we never see them again. I feel like that was kind of like the other family. I feel like it was supposed to be part of it. What?
Yeah, your attention to detail is incredible, my friend. That's why you get me on a lot of these trivia things. Yeah, it feels like they were part of the show that got cut out, and maybe they spent a little longer there. Honestly, I could watch an hour-long special on the Haunted Mansion becoming Haunted Mansion Holiday. I would gladly watch that.
The last two bits of it are talking about the flowers, and Sophia Carson introduces this part. She goes, the fastest way to my heart is flowers. She's like, diamonds are a girl's best friend, but the fastest way to my heart is flowers. No. If a guy buys you a diamond ring versus gives you a lily, you're going to take the diamond ring. Come on. I get that somebody wrote this for you, but come on. But then we get to see the horticulture.
Mentality versus, consumerism, Rob. I just feel like maybe that's why you and Sophia aren't together.
You know what? That's probably one of many reasons. I do love that, I think I don't think we give enough value to the flowers, and
I agree
at Disney World, at the parks, because of all the work that goes into them, and they just do an amazing job of it. And things like the poinsettias that are around do you poinsettia or poinsettia? What do you do?
Poinsettia.
Oh, sorry. So the poinsettias that are all around the land. I think that those are those touches that we don't really give enough credit to how much work goes into growing them and planting them and removing them and moving them.
That changeover, that's so quick.
Yeah.
They're digging these holes and man, it's awesome. And you know what? Take it a step further now. I cannot wait because I am going on the Glimmering
Greenhouses
Gardens tour. Yeah, Glimmering Greenhouses.
You're going on the backstage tour one?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, very excited for that. And I kind of want to see, more of the holiday. I almost said deciduous. That's not it. They're not deciduous trees. Why can't I think of the word for all of the things? Landscaping, but there's a better word. Flora, fauna, Merriweather, all that.
Yeah. I love again how they're showing, and you mentioned this from the top, is how they
Yeah.
transform all of that, and that one again I think is done overnight. That they have this crew doing the
Yeah.
flowers at the front of the park, and they have the other crew putting in
Because
the
you can't
trees
do
and the
that
ribbons.
part-time. Like, you have to do that in one fell swoop. You
Yeah.
can't have, like, half a pumpkin Mickey into a Christmas Mickey.
You know, one of the things I was thinking about here when I'm watching this part is I was wondering what these people, like in my head, I was wondering, what do these people do the rest of the year? But then I thought there's so many specialty things that happen throughout the year that's probably what they
yeah.
do, is that
They're probably events, yeah.
yeah, they plant and then maintain all the Christmas stuff, and then they have to bring all the Christmas stuff up, and then they're working over at Festival of the Arts to get all of those things installed, and then they remove those, and then they put in all of this flower and garden. So probably well enough to keep them all busy, which is good. But then, you know, again, they talk about, they walk us through all of the floral transformations that happen with Epcot and with the Magic Kingdom.
This is like all we get from Epcot.
But then this poor woman who is like the head of landscaping is retiring, and they give her a retirement cake. They give her a retirement cake in the middle of the night. They make her hold this cake. She's all like verklempt, thinking about like these people. They present it to her, and then she makes a speech to them holding the cake. She's about this high, and she's got this huge cake, and she's making a speech to all these folks.
The most random things to hang on to, bud. It is a
Tell me I'm wrong, though.
Moment. You're wrong. She just have to hold the cake. It's part of the bit. Just let her have her cake and eat it too, Rob. I don't know what's wrong with you. Just
come on.
She's so sweet. Oh.
Yeah, she is, but she's like 5'0", and she's like holding on to this like huge cake and giving a speech to these guys, and like
that costs $750 at Amorette's. I don't know, so you gotta hold on to that.
Yeah, but obviously she was a little, she'd been there a while, and she was a little upset by that, but about the leaving. But it's very sentimental, and again, it shows that family unit that we kind of see when we watch these things. So then they get into this woman who is behind the parades, and she was like one of the kids of the kingdom back in the day, and then has stayed there long enough to then be like the showrunner for the Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas parade. What I loved seeing here was them practicing. So she has them out here practicing, and it's like, when they actually pull this off, it's so flawless that you just go, well, they just must have gotten up and just decided to do a parade. Like, you don't think about how much work gets into doing this.
All right, let's see if you picked up on what I picked up on here. She was clearly dialed incredibly down. As someone who has been an athlete and had coaches motivate them in ways that probably would not be acceptable in 2024, you can see that she's dialed way, way back there, and that there is some fear in those dancers' eyes.
You think she's got like Russian gymnast vibes, but she was holding back for the cameras?
Yeah. Yep, 100%. 100%. Even you can tell she's
from the top.
Sophia Carson, like, I was like, you're getting a little too snippy with Evie there. You might want to watch your step.
Yeah. Here's a question. And again, I'm not really sure what was happening here, but as they're doing the in the park kind of like almost like a walkthrough, what's happening with these guys' shirts? It looks like they're being labeled or tracked, or you see what I'm saying?
Probably just it's their costuming. A lot of the shirts have tags like that. That's probably like their undershirt, so it knows who it goes to. Or maybe it's that's what it seems like. It seems like a costuming tag.
Yeah.
Probably keep it on the outside so it's not like itchy.
Yeah, but they put Sophia on the float, and you said you were not a huge fan of them doing that, huh?
No, it was too long, and there was no need for that. Also, that float has been a billion things. That lady's scary.
Right. Yeah, that's the least Christmassy of all the of all the floats.
Yes, it's been in every parade. I hate that float. I want them to leave that one outside.
I feel like they also use that one in a lot of the cavalcades too, probably.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
but
just
I mean
the float.
that pretty much wraps up the special as it's done. I want to ask you a couple of trivia questions that I thought of while I was watching this, and I feel like it's going to be pretty painless for you. But again, thank you guys for watching tonight. This is our last show between Park Center and Deep in the Plus. This is our last show for 2024, but we'll talk a little bit more about that as we wrap up. But here's the trivia questions that I came up with for you. You ready?
All right. I'm ready.
Okay, you were enamored by Whoopi Goldberg's spirit jersey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you know what it said on it?
Did it say holidays around the world?
No.
I
It said
don't
Happy
remember.
Holidays.
Okay.
That's it.
I remember it said holidays, yeah.
And it had a globe, and then it had
Yeah.
kids around it. How many kids were around it?
12.
10. You because you were totally guessing anyway. That's fine.
No, I wasn't. I used deductive reasoning. I was like, maybe it's like a clock. So I went with 12.
Yep. What was the name of the obnoxious family that was pumping the DVC?
I have no idea. I hated them so much. I'm really sorry. You're probably lovely people, but you weren't doing it for me. Anderson. I feel like it was something very basic. Anderson.
The Milky family. Dude, I turned on the captions to make sure I had that right. Milky, the Milky family.
Yeah, they were.
Where did they stay?
Right. Were they at Cooper Creek?
Copper Creek. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I got a little cheat here, just so you know. Wait,
I can't.
there it is.
Oh,
2017.
yeah.
I took a tour of right before they probably stayed there.
I don't actually have. But isn't that Copper Creek? It is Copper Creek. I'm pretty
It
sure.
is.
C-O-P-P-E-R.
I call it Cooper Creek as a joke, and
that's fine.
I could
That's
not.
fine.
Yeah.
When the show first opens, what's the first castle we see? You got a 50-50 shot.
It's Sleeping Beauty.
It is correct.
Yeah.
And then the last question is the outside of like the facade of the It's a Small World holiday. They say in here what size Christmas lights they use. Do you know what size Christmas lights they use?
Oh no, but I remember hearing it because I was thinking about like the C20 Christmas lights that are like the very nostalgic. Oh man, that's a good question, Rob. I didn't clock it. What do you got?
They are the C7 Christmas lights.
Yeah.
And for those of you not aware of what the C7s look like, they look like this. They're the old school check the bulb, screw it in, unscrew it.
C20 was my apartment number in college. I knew those were the C7 bulbs.
But I mean, they're very different from the little twinkle bulbs that they do for like trees and things like that. And we do
I like
now.
the C7 bulbs. I really do.
They're good.
I think they give like the only thing that's better is bubble lights that won't burn down your house. The bubble lights are
love bubble
what's
lights. Oh, dude, so nostalgic for bubble lights. The last question I had for you on here, that was the second to the last. The last question I had to you is how many weeks did they say it takes to make It's a Small World holiday?
18, or was that there was 18 days for Haunted Mansion?
Right.
How many weeks? Oh man, 12.
3 weeks. Anyway, son of a nutcracker. No, that's fine. So one question I was going to ask you, so that's the end of the trivia part. One question I was going to ask you, and it's just kind of a personal question because it's one of these things that I think about sometimes when I'm there. They mention it with the Milky family, where the Milky family says that they bring some of their own decorations when they come for Christmas. And then they show them decorating a real tree or like a full-size tree, which nobody's doing that. But they... do you bring, like, when you go during the holidays, whether it's Halloween or Christmas, do you bring decorations with you? Because a lot of families
brought
do.
Magnets a couple times. I brought magnets for the door a couple times. It depends on where you're staying. Like, if you're staying in a hotel that has inside hallways, bringing some stuff for the doors is cool. For the most part, I just decorate myself. We are renting a car, and we do have antlers and a nose for it, so we're excited about that. But I
Nice.
don't want to bring. Listen, packing space is tight. Um, I don't want an overweight fee. I gotta make sure only the bare necessities and enough room to bring stuff back.
The simple bare necessities. You gotta pack an extra suitcase for the popcorn buckets because this year's popcorn
Rob,
buckets are on
you
point.
that is rude because we talked about that before we became on the air. Thankfully, my wife very rarely watches or listens to these anymore. I was so angry when she said she didn't want a holiday themed popcorn bucket. So mad. And my popcorn bucket problem's not that bad. I think with Insight, I have maybe 3, and that might be all of them. But the ones this holiday season are so cute.
The gingerbread house is amazing.
The
Yeah.
gingerbread house, so
Yep.
good. I'm strictly against anything Monsters Inc. related right now for obvious reasons, but that Sully one is good too.
Well, I did get the Sully before I knew what he was doing to Muppets, so I do have that one. So let's talk real quick before we give final thoughts on this one. Let's talk real quick about like I said, this is the last show that we're doing before the holidays. You and I do this one, and we do Park Center. We did our last Park Center last Sunday night. You can go back and watch that now. And then we're doing this one tonight. And then we have one more show that we're going to drop for you, which was the Deadpool and Wolverine replay from the marathon that Desi and I did. So we're going to drop that on the 23rd as a little Christmas present, so you guys can check it out and have something to do during the holidays. And we will be back live for Deep in the Plus on January 8th to talk about Inside Out 2. Hopefully you guys will have watched it. If you haven't already seen it in the theater, because most people did, then you can watch it on Disney Plus right now. That's a thing.
Watch it. So good.
Also, if you are into these reviews that we're doing for the holidays, we have a place you can go, holiday.deepintheplus.com. Will take you to almost 20 holiday reviews that we have done over the past 5 years of Deep in the Plus. Patrick, you've done several of them with me as well. So, yeah, it's
was
exciting.
Prep and Landing lost to a marathon show, or is that in there?
You know what? I need to. It is in there. It is in there. So it's Prep and Landing is part of Noel because you and I did Prep and Landing, and then Noel was Wolf and I did that one during the marathon. So yeah. So Noel, Prep and Landing are in there. Home Alone. You and I did Jingle All the Way. So that's another one that we did. Frozen is in there just because it's winter. Santa Claus is in there. Muppets, Christmas Carol, the creepy Jim Carrey Christmas Carol, Beauty and the Beast, Enchanted Christmas, and Babes in Toyland. There's a Lego special in there. There's a whole bunch. So again, check it out. Holiday.deepintheplus.com to check those out, and hopefully you guys will enjoy that. But I appreciate everyone who's been watching all year long. Thank you guys for watching for Deep in the Plus and for also Park Center. We appreciate you. But Patrick, this is it. Yeah. This is the last one of the year. You've watched the special. We've talked about it ad nauseum. It was a 42-minute show. We're an hour plus in already. So the question that is left on the table is, somebody's saying, hey, I'm looking for something to watch on Disney Plus. I'm looking for this thing, something cool to get me in the holiday spirit. Would you recommend this special?
No, go watch Hawkeye.
Straight up.
Listen, if you are somebody who's watching Park Center every week and you haven't seen this already, sure, go and watch it. But if you are not a diehard, if you are here for these reviews and kind of like really seeing what we watch on Disney Plus, this isn't for you. This is for the park diehards. I don't know if this would change anybody from a casual fan to a diehard. Go watch Hawkeye. Watch all of Hawkeye. If you watch Hawkeye already, watch it again and then watch Prep and Landing.
Yeah, I would say we've talked and covered more of this than the special did as far as the holidays in the park. Now, again, your great point. I am addicted to the resort TV, to the old Samantha specials, all of the behind the scenes stuff. I crave it and hunger for it. And so I think if you're the kind of person who has already watched like Behind the Attraction and all that other stuff, you've probably watched this. So I mean, I'd recommend it to you if you're a parks person. But you're right, like this isn't get you in the holiday spirit necessarily. My wife and I were watching, and she was like, we've already decorated our house. And I'm like, yeah, but I mean, but I will be watching the Disney Parks Christmas Day special
Absolutely.
on the 25th, so that'll be fun. The one last thing I wanted to say about this one before we moved on is that the same producer produced this one and another one that you mentioned earlier on that was called Decorating Disney Halloween Magic, which is not on Disney Plus for some strange reason.
I've definitely seen it. I don't recall it, but I remember watching it because I would consume this stuff all the time.
And then there was another special he did about Disney fairy tale weddings. So
yeah, that's on there. That's boring. It is boring. I wanted to have a Disney fairy tale wedding. It's still super boring.
I mean, I would love to see the Halloween one, honestly, because like I don't think I've ever seen it. And it's not like it's Whoopi Goldberg or anything like that. It is, and the only reason I know about it is I was flipping through IMDb looking for some stuff and came across. Again, Decorating Disney Holiday Magic. It said it was a TV special that ran in 2021. It makes sense. It makes sense that they would have that, and especially the thumbnail shows Cars Land, which is a great overlay for Halloween and for Christmas. So, I would love to see that, but it's not on Disney Plus. I don't know why.
You and I have talked at length about our issues with stuff that is not on Disney Plus.
From stuff like that we talked about earlier to stuff like this to stuff like the shows that they made that then they were like, oh, it's too expensive to keep on here, like the Jeff Goldblum World According to Jeff Goldblum, like Willow, like these these other shows that they made specifically for Disney Plus and then pulled because there was a reason that they were costing them money. Yeah, stuff like that's a little bit disappointing. But this guy Simon Lithgow produced this one. And then the Halloween Magic, and then the Disney Fairy Tale Weddings. So interesting that's somebody's job. I love it though.
I'd like that job.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah. Well, thank you again, my friend, for everything. And I hope you have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
I'm headed to the parks. I'm ready. Let's do this.
And may you get all the popcorn buckets your wife will allow.
Oh, that's the best Christmas wish for anybody on this network, right? That your partner allows you to buy all the dumb plastic that you would like.
Exactly. Awesome. Thank you guys.
Happy holidays, everyone out there.
Yep.
We'll see you in 2025.
Yes, sir. Thanks for watching. Have a great one. We'll see you next time.